Hi pals, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. So today's video is a little bit different, which you can probably tell from the title, but it's going to be a more serious topic. So I want to just start this by saying there is a major trigger warning for sexual assault and harassment, if you aren't already aware of what the 97% is. So, if you don't know what the 97% is, it is, I believe, a study that was done in the UK that basically had the result of 97% of women have experienced sexual assault or harassment in their lifetime, and like that statistic is disgusting, and like it's just a lot, and it's not surprising because like this is what we deal with on a daily basis. Like, this is our lives. And while I don't personally identify as a woman, I still present as one. So even though I am non-binary, I do consider myself in that 97% statistic. So just to give a little bit of a backstory, when I was in my early teens, like 13, even like 12 to like early 16, that range, I went to a lot of concerts, and they were pretty much all pop punk or metal concerts. And if you were someone who was in that kind of scene, listened to that kind of music, you would probably know that majority of the bands have basically been cancelled. I don't really like using the word cancelled, but for lack of a better word, because a lot of them turned out to be abusers and predators and just not great people. So it isn't that surprising to think that a lot of the men in the crowds of those concerts also were abusers and predators. So basically, to give a pretty general idea of my own experience with this, these concerts were usually general admission. I don't think I've ever been to a pop punk or anything concert that was not general admission. So, you know, an open floor at those kind of shows, like, there's a lot of pushing, moving around in the crowd, mosh pits, that kind of thing, you know, crowd surfing, stage diving, all that. So there's a lot of movement, and I think that's important to keep in mind because that kind of environment made it like the perfect environment for these predators, basically. Because, like, I'm just gonna say these men because I personally have only been assaulted or harassed by men, but that is in no way of me saying that women can't be abusers and predators, because they absolutely can. I just don't have the personal experience with that, and that is what this video is about, my own personal experience. For these men, they were in this environment where it was very easy for them to just, you know, slide a hand like in the crowd and, you know, do the assaulting. And like not be found out, because at least for majority of the times that this happened, when it came to like strangers doing it, I would turn around or like, you know, look around when I was touched in unwanted ways. It was basically impossible to figure out who around me did it, because like you turn around and there's like 6 men directly behind you. Could be any of them. Could be persons like here, or here, or here. Like, could be anyone around you that did it, and you wouldn't really be able to definitively tell who it is, especially if they like move immediately after. When that kind of situation happened, a lot of the time I would either try and move in the crowd to get away from the people that I was around to, you know, I don't know which one it was, so I just need to get away from that entire group of people. So I was on like the left side of the crowd, I would move to the middle or the right, or if it like shook me up bad enough, I would go to the back of the venue. There actually has been times where I completely left the venue because I just didn't want to deal with that. To give like a pretty, not really vague, but like not going too in detail, because like I am wanting to be open about this with you guys and spread this awareness and maybe make someone that watches this maybe feel less alone in this kind of situation, but I don't think I'm at a place where I can go super in detail about the actual situations themselves. But to be kind of general, the one specific time that this happened that has stuck in my mind and actually stopped me from going to these concerts was this time that I was at a concert in Seattle. I didn't go with any friends, it was just me and my dad, and my dad went to a lot of the shows with me because he was into the same stuff, so we usually weren't together in the crowd though. I was usually with friends, or he would like be at near the back of the venue and I would go in the crowd. So at this specific concert, he was at the back of the venue and I was right up against the stage. It was a pretty small venue and the back of the venue was raised so he could see me in the crowd, and like obviously he's watching the bands and everything, but he would check on me every once in a while, like looking to where I was. So I was there with, well, by myself, but on my left were these 2 girls who were clearly kind of drunk and were just like, you know, having a good time at this concert. To my right were a couple of guys and their girlfriends. They were just chilling, they were having a good time, but they were like pretty chill in the crowd. At some point, I believe it was the second band playing, the girls beside me had this guy who was clearly wasted, and he was trying to like basically feel them up, and they were very like vocal and were like, get away from me, piss off kind of thing. So because they were like that, immediately I think he realized that these girls were not an easy target. They looked probably early to mid-20s, and I believe I was 15 or 16 at the time. So I clearly was much younger than these girls. I was also much shorter. I'm 5'2"-ish. I think I was like 5'1" at the time. So I was small. These girls were much taller than me, clearly older than me, clearly were together. I was by myself. You know, like, we were very different targets, for lack of a better word. So I was watching that happen. If anything went further, I definitely would have like asked if the girls were okay, but they just kind of, you know, went on with their partying at this concert. They were having a good time, whatever. So I thought the guy left. Turns out he just moved over to directly behind me. So basically he kept putting his hands on my waist like like you kind of would at a club with someone you're dancing with, if you're like chest to back kind of thing. And I was like immediately uncomfortable, immediately was grabbing his wrists and pushing his hands off me. He clearly didn't get the point. He continued. It progressively got worse. Once it like hit a certain point of like, holy shit, dude, you have crossed so many lines, I turned around and basically yelled F off in his face. And what I didn't realize was that my dad noticed. He was able to see me, and I guess even from the back of the venue looking to the front, he could tell that I was like in distress. Like I wasn't enjoying the concert. I wasn't like jumping when everyone else was. I wasn't like holding my phone recording anything. I was very, like, I just didn't look right, basically. So he had actually come into the crowd and was like 2 people behind me. And I had no idea. And turned around, yelled F off in this dude's face and like kind of pushed him. And all of a sudden I see my dad just swoop in and he got real up in the dude's face and basically got him out of the crowd and stayed with me for the rest of the concert. So that was lucky because I'm not really sure what the dude would have done, because he was being pretty bold. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised if no one else in the crowd around me noticed, because he was being like real, like not even remotely secretive about what he was doing. And I mean, if you see a young person turn around and yell like F off to a guy, you'd kind of assume that he was doing something, right? But no one else around me either noticed or did anything, so yeah, that was probably the worst situation and the one that usually comes to mind when I think about this topic, and the one that I have brought up multiple times in therapy. So that's like one piece of my experience. Unfortunately, still in the same context of concerts, I also had men that I thought I trusted do things, and a lot of the time they were older than me, sometimes legal adults when I was really underage. It just never was the most appropriate. And I think, honestly, I mentioned this in therapy, but you know, thinking about this and thinking about how these guys clearly thought that this was something that they could do and get away with, is because, like, you never have proof. Unless somebody recorded it, you don't have proof, because they aren't physically harming you in the sense of, like, visible harm. So I think they took that and kind of ran with it, you know? Like, they thought it was something that they could easily get away with. Something that no one would be able to prove if they came forward about it. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I used to surround myself with in my early teens have been exposed for being abusers and predators. And, you know, thinking back on some of the situations that I was in and some of the people that I was around, like, I was so young and, like, naive to what their actions were really meaning. Like, I shouldn't have really been around 18 plus people who were very flirty when I was like 14 or 15. Like, that wasn't okay. And at the time I just kind of brushed it off. I dismissed it. I didn't make it out to be a big deal. Those kind of people are also very good at manipulating people, especially young people, to make you feel like it's okay. And I know that in a lot of situations where people are assaulted, a very common emotion is to feel ashamed, which definitely was very prevalent for me, because like the people that I knew who did it were always super well liked, popular people. So like in my mind I always had this thought like I should like be thankful that he's giving me attention, that he wants me in that way. And you know, looking back, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not even attracted to men, which is something that I recently came to the conclusion about, because you know, I had been so manipulated by so many just predatory men, and that really twisted my perception of like what romantic feelings and like physical feelings for someone is. Honestly, a lot of the time I like associated these romantic feelings with like fear, which is so messed up. Like that should not be something that you associate with that. Like in a better way to describe it, it was like if I didn't have a little bit of fear for the person, then I probably didn't like them, was how my mind worked back then, because I was so used to feeling those things at the same time, which I wasn't even feeling romantic feelings, I was just being manipulated into thinking that. Honestly, it's just all a lot, and I feel like this video is very chaotic, and I was gonna actually write a script, but I didn't want to just read it off. I wanted this to be a more organic video. Oh my god, you can tell I'm anxious because I keep stuttering. Basically, that is my experience, and I'm gonna stop talking about my personal experience now because I feel like I don't really need to go into every single detail, so that's just the gist of the shit that I went through as a teenager. So in this last part of the video, I kind of want to just address two groups of people. First, anyone who relates to this, anyone that is included in the 97%. I just want to share that it does get easier to deal with. Working through these kind of things is hard and can be complicated and take a long time, but you will get there. You will get to a place where it doesn't affect you as much as it affects you right now. I let it affect me in deep, very permanent feeling ways, including stopping going to concerts when they were my happy place. They were what brought me so much joy, but these people took that away from me. And I don't want anyone else to lose that piece of joy in their life because men don't know how to keep their hands to themselves, or don't know how to take no for an answer. And when you're talking about things like assault, that is like a more tangible thing to categorize, but I feel like when it comes to harassment, people don't realize like all the things that are considered that. Whether that's catcalling, someone who repeatedly asks you out after you say no, unsolicited pictures, like following you on everything and DMing you a million times even though you never respond. All of that counts as harassment, and it all can affect a person, and sometimes in ways that are deep and genuinely take a long time to process. So I just wanted to say that I'm here for anyone that relates to any of this. If you need someone to talk to, My DMs are always open. I know that this is a very hard thing to talk about and can feel really scary to talk about. So I want you to know that I'm a safe place for you guys to come if you ever need anything, that you aren't alone in this, while thinking that 97% of women dealing with this is awful. It can also feel not good, but like you don't feel as alone. You know that other people are dealing with these things. It's not just happening to you. It's not all in your head. It doesn't need to be downplayed. And I hope that me talking about this can help. If it's only one person, that's amazing to me. That just talking about this extremely hard topic and sharing my experiences could potentially help another person. Like that is why I talk about these really personal things. If you don't follow me on Instagram, not to like plug myself, but it's my Instagrams. On my personal Instagram, I do talk about a lot of very personal things that a lot of people try to avoid talking about. And the reason for that is because I know that talking about these things can help other people. No matter how uncomfortable it can feel to me in the moment of posting it and writing it, if even one person responded saying that it helped, that is a huge deal. And lastly, if you are someone watching this who has done any of these things to anyone, you need to know that you are a predator. You are an abuser. Your friends that you see do this stuff but you never say anything about, you are part of the problem. If you never stand up against your friends who do things like this, you are part of the problem. I know a lot of the time they turn a blind eye and like they think they can't do anything to help when you absolutely can. Believe your friends who come to you or post online that one of your buddies hurt them in a way. Believe them. Don't automatically side with your bros. If you see a young girl clearly uncomfortable in a crowd at a concert, protect her. Protect anyone in a concert that looks uncomfortable. If you can tell that a man is following her, do something. There are just so many things you can do to help. And like I said before, I know that a lot of people think because you're not doing tangible physical harm that it's okay. It's not. Like, do not touch people if they do not want to be touched. Do not harass people. Don't badger people in their DMs in person. Don't repeatedly ask them out when they've said no multiple times. If they say they're not interested, don't keep trying. Like, there are just so many things that are way too, like, acceptable, that people think is acceptable when it's not at all. There are many posts online about the things that men can do to help make women feel more safe. Whether that's when they're walking at night, whether it's at a show, whether it's at a party, anything. I will try and find some of these posts and put the links in the description, but please, if you are a man that is watching this video, I know that I don't have very many male viewers, but if you are, please look into this kind of thing. Just keep women safe. please. So I think that's where I'm gonna end it. I know that this video is a little all over the place. It's kind of hard to have a very structured kind of video on a topic like this, especially when I'm sharing my own personal stuff. But hopefully I got what I needed to across, and hopefully you guys can take something from this, whether it's some comfort in knowing that you're not alone, that you have someone that you can turn to if you need to, or if it's just giving you some new perspective. Yeah, so I know this was a heavy video and that it's probably not the easiest video to watch. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I don't know how you can enjoy this kind of video, but yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.